How you guys doing today? This is Anthony Gangi, host of Tier Talk, and today I want to touch briefly on a riot that occurred at Crossroads Correctional Institution out in Missouri. The reason why I want to discuss it briefly is because it's a symptom of a bigger problem that we're having in corrections that stretches across the nation. So when I get back, we're going to be talking about where we're at today in corrections and why we're so vulnerable. As always, guys, the show is Tier Talk. Please, if you haven't, subscribe, interact, engage, comment. Don't forget, hit that bell. That bell's going to notify you every time I post up a video. All right, guys, stand by for our sponsors.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Being a corrections officer takes its toll on even the strongest individuals. The constant need to perform at the highest level, putting your life at risk in a hostile environment, and the mental scarring of traumatic experiences. 31% of corrections officers show symptoms of PTSD, and 66% of people with PTSD also suffer with a substance abuse problem. The Transformations First Responders program is specially designed to help veterans and officers heal from the grips of addiction and PTSD in a comfortable, supportive, and serene setting. You are not alone. If you have questions about the services we offer, give us a call at 866-762-8454 to get more information on this affordable and life-changing program.
Thank you guys for listening to our sponsors. So at Crossroads Correctional Institution out in Missouri, a riot occurred, involved about 209 inmates. Inmates didn't want to leave the mess hall, refused to go back to their cells, and they just kind of just started destroying things. And I think that what's going on in Missouri is kind of a symptom of a bigger picture that's affecting us nationally. And again, we've discussed this before. We're talking about understaffed prisons, understaffed jails, correctional facilities. I mean, if you Google understaffed prisons, you're going to see a list of prisons across the nation that are affected by understaffing. Now, the articles are usually very general. They kind of discuss the numbers or the percentage that's down, but they don't really go into, and I guess that's for security reasons, how those numbers affect the specific institution. This usually happens when a major incident occurs. Then they'll go ahead and investigate, okay, well, we were down so many numbers, and these are the areas that were affected. Now, the front line, the officers that work in these correctional facilities that are being seen as vulnerable right now because they just don't have the right people on the shift to maintain safety and security, they know what areas are being affected. They know exactly, like, if I don't have people in these positions, this is the outcome, this is the negative consequence of that. And I believe that they do forward those concerns up to the administration level, to the administrative level. And unfortunately, either those concerns are being dismissed or maybe just minimized, but it's serious. You can see it. South Carolina had a riot in which 7 inmates died. And I think a lot of people are going to look at South Carolina now because the riot got a lot of national attention. And I think people are going to need to see what happens next. So I really think that Director Brian Sterling, he's kind of in the spotlight right now to see how he reacts, what he's going to implement. And he's trying. And I think that it's funny because he's in the spotlight, he may get more support than he ever did before. But we're seeing the consequences of understaffed facilities. And this is not something that happened overnight. This has been happening. It's been happening through the changes that ultimately left frontline ignored. You know, the vulnerabilities that are being kind of broadcasted nationally, but nationally, the inmates are aware of specifically. At each facility, those inmates know exactly what's happening, where we're vulnerable at. And now there's a bit of a unity amongst the inmates. And that's always our greatest fear in corrections, inmates uniting. And then you also have that tension between staff and inmates that's just being created at these facilities, because again, inmates see where the vulnerabilities are, staff know that they're vulnerable, and now you just have tension. Another problem is because you're not able to keep experienced professionals in the role of front line. They're not able to kind of navigate through that tension. Instead, we have inexperienced officers who really don't know how to jail, if you will. And what I mean by jailing, I mean just simple communication, old school methods that worked, that kept these inmates in line. We're losing experienced staff, and we're losing the chance to get real qualified staff. Again, it's all about that incentive, those competitive pay. So what we see going on, again, what happened in Missouri, what happened in Arizona, I believe that was in March earlier this year, what just happened in South Carolina in April. These are symptoms of a bigger picture that needs to be addressed right now, but it really can't be addressed institution by institution. It really has to be addressed as a bigger picture. What we don't realize is how connected we really are. Maybe we should start having these communications where we sit down at the table and look for common ground, see the best practices, see the worst practices, and really try to get that road that can make us better and more consistent. I think that would be a great conversation to have, a great summit, if you will, of a representative from each state just discussing the concerns and what we need to do to make it better. Prison reform is a big discussion right now on the tables of the Trump presidency. Jared Kushner is really pushing for prison reform. The act he's trying to push is called the First Step Act.
Well, first thing is we need to get away from our prisons being warehouses. And unfortunately, we have neglected until recent years, last 10 years, we've neglected the reality that people who go to prison will get out of prison. And the question is, will they end up back in prison, or will they be able to take advantage of what they've learned in order to turn their life around? That's really been the key to the Texas success, along with the programs that are offered by faith-based and other organizations that are based on science and based on measuring real results, not just hoping for the best, but actually things that are proven to make a difference. So I think we have enough information, we have enough experience now to know what works and what doesn't work, and that's what we'd like to apply here now at the national level.
And again, it's where we're headed. I can't argue it. I mean, I really would like to see a lot more focus going to that front line. I mean, what he wants to issue, the programming, stuff like that, I believe it's needed. But if you don't have the manpower to help maintain safety and security, you ain't going to get the programming working for damn. It's not going to work because you're not providing an environment that's conducive to programming. And then, of course, they're not getting bipartisan support because, you have many in government who believe that we got to lower those sentences, the mandated sentences, the real good heart of criminal justice reform. Yeah, but we also want to get the programming first. We don't want to just send people on the streets without getting the proper programming. So I agree with getting the programs in first, getting them in place. But I don't believe that's the first act or the first step. I believe the first step should be getting those numbers up for safety and security so we can go ahead and function in a manner in which rehabilitation would be conducive. But right now it's not. So even if you push for this first step and you want to get that programming in place, again, it's needed. I'm not saying it's not needed. What staff is going to help maintain safety and security? We're doing things backwards. The first step from the Trump administration for the reform should be getting our numbers up. Then it should be the programming. Then it should be the sentencing aspect. Again, you need the programming before you start letting people out. So again, a lot of things going on that are backwards. But again, this is just a quick vlog. Just wanted to get some thoughts out there. But we are vulnerable right now. Inmates see that we're vulnerable, and you're going to see a lot more of these occurrences. So why don't we just sit together, start working in a combined fashion, a collective fashion, and really see what the best and the worst practices are so we can go ahead and improve, make ourselves better. The answers are out there. They're out there. But if we continue to work in an isolated manner, we're never going to be able to move forward. And again, to Director Brian Sterling, a lot of eyes are going to be on you. A lot of eyes are going to be on you right now, because 7 inmates were killed in that riot in South Carolina, and at Lee's Correctional Institution, and they're going to be looking at you to see what your next step is. I know I'm going to be looking at you. So I'm very curious to see what steps that you take that maybe can help us. Because so far you've been taking some positive steps, including jamming those cell phones inside prisons. And I would love to see that replicated or modeled elsewhere. But again, these are just my thoughts. As always, guys, the show is Tier Talk. Love you guys. Please, if you haven't, subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. That bell is going to notify you every time I post up a video. Stay safe.